Hey there. In this video I've made a really simple build. It's just cardboard and coffee stirrers, and for almost all the detail it's just some decals that I printed out at my local library on a bit of paper. It is so easy to make this and it looks absolutely jam-packed with detail, and I haven't done something like this before, quite as basic yet as beautifully detailed as it appears to be, because it's an illusion. And this is so simple that children could make it, probably 12 and up would easily be able to tackle something like this. So I hope you get something out of this one, and I hope you enjoy the video. I started out by just making a very basic rectangular shape and cutting some window holes. I wanted it to be a super basic shape just to make it easy, but I made it a little interesting by just giving it kind of an L shape in the back, so there's a little bit more depth inside the building. And I also wanted to make sure that the windows were very big, so there was optimal viewing from the outside of the building to the interior and all the detail that I'd put inside. I'm just going to trace around the building so I can get the shape for the base, and I also did the same for the roof. Saves having to measure anything. And now that I have these two pieces complete, I'm going to spray them black with just a black matte. It's not just to give it depth of colour beneath the colours on top later on, but it's also to protect and insulate the cardboard from moisture so it won't buckle. Now just a coat of some flat brown. It's just a basic house paint, and it's to give that depth underneath the colour of the green that I'm going to put onto it. I'm going to stipple it all over it because I don't want brush strokes, and I don't want it too thick, and I also I don't want the cardboard to buckle. When you apply paint to cardboard, you have to be mindful of what you're doing. Too much can make it warp. Now I've done that, I'm going to put some green on, and I did do a second coat of this because you can see it's a little bit blotchy. And for the inside, I just went with a gold. I wasn't sure what to do, but I thought gold would help illuminate the inside. This is difficult. Once I started painting the interior, I knew it was going to be difficult to film this while building it. It's just a bit of an awkward thing. But it looks nice. It worked out well. The gold was a good choice. You have to be mindful of colours when you're building anything, because things can go off the wrong track very quickly when it's too bold. And the base, I'm just going to put down some decals that I printed out. You could choose anything. You could have a checkered floor, whatever you like for the interior of a building. These are basic. You can see a little line down the middle. I didn't even bother to separate those pieces. I just put them down as they were. I didn't match them either. I should have taken the time to match these pieces up, but I kind of assumed that nobody would notice. I use a nice thick water-based glue and just brush it down nice and thin, and then just apply each piece and get the air bubbles out as quickly as you can after applying. Nice dry brush will do that. Just work from the centre to the outside, and it should work bubbles and little ridges out of your paper. It's a very quick way to do floors. I've just left the overhang there. It's not a problem, because when it's thoroughly dry, I will flip it over and just cut all the edges off that are hanging over the side. Do make sure that when you go to cut your edges, it is extremely and thoroughly dry, or your paper will sort of tear and very likely lift. So when it's super dry like that, it will cut off very clean and it looks nice. And that's a floor entirely done. You can see that line up the middle, but I could have matched it if I'd wanted to, but I didn't. I was too lazy. All right, so that's the floor and the body of the building. I realised that there was no room for a door frame, so I just got some coffee stirrers that was stained brown and then painted in the same green as the outside. and I just put them in. And it's not just widening the door frame, but it's also really going to make it a lot stronger, because thin cardboard like that, you can end up with big problems. Usually I would fortify it from the inside, but this actually worked better, so it might be a technique I will use from now on. And just the roof, I'm going to spray it black, but first I just put a strip of plyboard around the front and two of the sides, just to make sort of a facade. I didn't show it, it was so basic. And these are just coffee stirrers. Every time I do a build, I get a pack of coffee stirrers, I cut the ends off them, and I stick them into a soaking wash. Brown, black, blackish brown, it doesn't matter what colour, as long as it's nice and dark. And you're just staining it. So when you put paint on top, it doesn't look crazy, colourful and unnatural. I get all sizes, and I'll split them, so I'll have thinner ones and thicker ones. And that way I have a variety of wood at hand, ready to just flat out paint and construct. These ones I have painted a cream colour. All the trim on this building is the same cream colour. And I just insert them into the inside of the window. It's a really tidy way of doing windows. It's nice to do it this way if you have the patience, and then actually put a window frame on the outside around it. Very simple. I don't measure these either. I just mark it with a pencil, snip it with the scissors, and then just glue it in. Almost nothing I do, aside from assembling the frame, is measured. I just find my centre and find the centres of my windows and door, and that's about the only thing I ever measure. It's just hold, mark and snip and apply. It works for me. It's nice and tidy. I'll do the other windows the same. And there's the top, as you can see. I've just put some coffee stirrers around inside the cardboard to help sort of fortify the edges and help it adhere to the cardboard. So it's a really strong roof, which it is. I'll just spray it black and paint it green as well. These are just for the walls and the skirting boards. It's just a spray that I used. It's lacquer and stain in one spray, so it was really quick. I just spray the sticks, those stirrers, mark them, snip them, and then just plop them on. It is so basic, but it really works very, very well. It's too easy. I made a very basic XPS foam base, and I just painted it black and then a couple of coats of grey, and drew in some lines for the footpath. Very basic. And these little rugs are just printouts that I had in my collection of printouts. I just thought I'd add some interest to the floor. Being an old shop, I thought little rugs would look nice. And these are the toy printouts that I got from the library. I made sure I flipped the images so they weren't all identical, so it would add interest and not be repeating the same pattern in the room. I just used thin cardboard. It's kind of like, not tissue box, a little thicker than that, though tissue box could possibly work. Flatten them out as they dry, so they're really nice and flat. This is the doll's house image of a real doll's house that I put on a very thick piece of cardboard. You can see it here. It looks very nice and real, except for the horrible cardboard that I applied it to. So I'm going to use some filler and just fill the outside edges of it all. I'm not going to have it so people can see the back of it or the sides in particular, but I'm going to disguise it because I want it to look like a real doll's house sitting inside the shop. So I filled it and let it dry, and then just put a darker paint around the outside. I wasn't too fussy about this. I could have used black or a very dark sort of green or matching the colour. Something like this is up to you. To make a little counter, piece of balsa wood, drew in a pattern in the front, little piece for the top, and I just rounded the edges with a bit of sandpaper, glued it down, and used the same spray, the lacquer spray that has stain in it, and that was it. It took me 5 minutes to make it. It's simple, but it works. It's nice. And And these are all my toy shelves now dry on the cardboard, lovely and flat. Now to make them more three-dimensional, I know that the object is three-dimensional, but the actual pattern itself is just a printout. So by creating a shelf around the printout and the little shelves in between, I'm going to make it look like it's an actual 3D object. It's just part of the illusion. So when someone looks inside the window, they will see that it's a three-dimensional object, and it's going to fool the eye into thinking it's a shelf with actual individual objects on it. It's all just the trickery, and it's a really good way of just cheating, of making something look far more clever than it actually is. It's so basic. The coffee stirrers are just cut down the centre and thinned out, and then just lay them on the pre-existing lines of the bookshelves. This glue dries so beautifully clear, and it's wonderful. Looks messy when I'm making it, but it dries well. Use a glue that, of course, will be invisible when dry. See this one when it's done, it looks really nice. I reverse imaged or flipped the image either side. So now I'm going to, I printed out 4 of each, so now I'm going to use the extras. I glued them on cardboard as well, and then cut out the easy cutting objects like these little blocks. And I'm just going to pop some coffee stirrers down. I glue them down, and then I glue this on top of it to make it even more three-dimensional. Depending on what you choose to print out would make things easier if they were more easily cut objects. As you can see, it's that little something that stops it being just a completely flat object on the wall. And from a distance and through a window, it works. To create these posters, I've just got more decals, and then I just shuffle everything around to make sure that I'm happy with where it's sitting, so everything's sort of filled out in a nice way and not overly done. I use my finger to apply the glue, so I have some working time. And then I just place it down and make sure I can get it nice and straight. And then again, get a brush and brush out all the bubbles and little ridges. And then it just looks like a nice little poster on the wall. These are great for filling in buildings. They just add so much colour, and you could put your own picture on there if you really wanted to. You could think outside the box and do whatever you wanted. These are great. I love them. Really nice vintage posters. And now a shelf all the way up the end where that empty spot is. This particular shelf, that was I think 3 different shelves put together because I wanted variety, because there were so many that were the same. So I mixed it up so they looked like a huge range of multiple toys, not the same thing repeating itself in a pattern. And I did the same thing with all the coffee stirrers, put it all around, and then, oh, that's a bit wonky looking, that camera angle, oops. Some little pieces of balsa wood that got some miniature gift wrapping paper on them. And these are super simple objects, but sometimes the simplicity of an object is better than having something overly complicated, because complicated things can attract the eye. You see these posters and the colour theme that I have going on in this room, and those little blocks that I put there. They're just little blocks that are made out of, they're just like beads from a cheapy shop. And I just filled the hole in the top of each one, and then I put a little bit of paint on them. And I accidentally painted them, and I did one green, and I realised when I put the green one in that it didn't work because it doesn't go with the colour theme, and it really stands out in a way that it's not quite right. So when I took the green one away, I realised that I had a theme going, and it really brings the room together, and it softens it, and it really helps it. Now the interior is completely finished. I'm going to glue down the body of the building so I can work on the outside. You can see how flimsy that is. I want to glue it down nice and neatly. It'll make it much stronger, and then I'll be able to put the window panes in. These are more those thin sliced coffee stirrers that are painted in the cream. And for this, I used a measuring tool. After I put the first ones in, well, I measured these up and then I had them the right length. And I got this jumbo popsicle stick, and I used that as my measuring tool, so I could put each piece in like this, just a little bit of glue on either end, and then let that fall away, and they are all exactly the same height from the top of the window. And I did the same with the sides. I just put glue on the top and the bottom of each little stick that I'd pre-measured, and then I sat it in there, and then I just let it set a little bit, and that was that. That was very quick and easy, saved any mucking around, and I wanted it to be right because these windows are so big, they have to be as clean and accurate as you can get. So I thought this would be a better way of doing it. I don't think I've ever made windows as big as these before, so it was a nice little learning experience for myself. And then I put some little pieces in the top as well. I didn't use anything to measure them, I just eyeballed it because I could see the piece underneath it was correct. And now just sheets of plastic. These are just, I've saved them, I saved just about everything. These are just from, some sort of packaging of something. And I just popped them in. And these are just more decal printouts that I stuck on tissue box paper, because I didn't want just paper hanging. It might end up buckling over time. I was going to do them this way around, and then I looked and I realised that just the red and white stripe was really nice. It just has a really nice look about it, and it goes with the cream and the green. And I know it looks like almost like a candy shop or something. I don't know, I like it. I just pop these in. There's another super quick job. When you think about making decals, you just print them all out, lay your cardboard out and glue everything down, wait till it dries, cut it all out, and you've got all your details sitting there. A little door that I made, it's super basic. I will put a link for doors, or a video on doors that I made in the past if you would like to check that out. It's just balsa wood and a bit of plastic basically. It's really starting to come together. I was having my doubts until I got to this point and I realised it was starting to look really, really nice. I'm just going to show you how I put the 10 metres of lights. I had no option. The ones I ordered aren't coming till February, so I had to use 10 metres of lights. It took me ages to glue them in. But there it is, beautifully lit. As long as no one looks up inside there, it's fabulous. The curtains also help to stop anyone looking too far up inside. I'm going to seal this off with green coffee stirrers. I'll make it look like some sort of, trim on the building so it looks nicer. I just got some foam core board, drew up some bricks and painted them in to do the side and back of this building, just so it's not ugly cardboard. If anyone wants to know how to do bricks, there's a million, I'm sure, videos on this on YouTube already, but if you'd really like me to show you how I did mine, I will make you a quick video. They look nice, and they give it that little bit of something for a quick fix. And it's a break from the cardboard. I just briefly glued them all around. I didn't do anything fancy. I don't think anyone's ever going to look at the back of this, and I haven't even done anything with the lights. If I wanted to disguise them, I would have built something to put them in, but I'm not too fussed. I made this for a tutorial, so I'll probably stick it on a shelf somewhere after this. But it's nice, it's tidy, it's quick, it's easy, and I covered a huge surface area of the building. So, it's one of those good things making bricks like this. No windows in it, so it was even easier. Whoops. And here's the green strip. Now that the glue's dry on the roof, I put 2 coffee stirrers together and just let them dry overnight because I want it to be very strong. And now some of the cream coloured ones that I will join as neatly as possible in the middle and run them around the green strip that goes around the roof. I've also got coffee stirrers above the windows and running along the base and now up the sides. I basically just sort of went around the building and did it, and I went around the door as well. Just a little strip across the roof. It's just so basic, but I appreciate that. It didn't take very long to do the bulk of this. And now finally for the last decal, I'm using my finger again. The reason I use my finger with decals like this is because I want enough glue that when I put it down, I can shuffle it around for at least 5 to 10 seconds. If you apply it with a brush and you put it down, you will find often it will adhere immediately, and if you try to pull it off, you're going to pull half of it off and you'll have white paper stuck to your building, and it's very problematic. So a film done with your finger will smooth it over enough to give you some time to play with it. You can see I can sort of just shift it a little bit just to get it straight, because you want to make sure your decals are nice and straight. And then get the air bubbles out and make it nice and flat and tidy with a very clean dry brush. And that's pretty much it. I didn't show every little thing, but I mean, you really get the gist. You see the coffee stirrers everywhere. Put another decal on the side over there. I mean, this is it. It's just so basic. It doesn't really even look like it was made the way I made it, the way it came out so tidy. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to have to think about doing a serious Sims build, I think, after making this. I didn't even dirty it up. Look how clean it is. But I like it. I'm happy with it. I was initially going to make this a Christmas build, but once I went to put a tree in with lights and that sort of thing, things started to look very wrong very quickly. So I kept it subdued. For the huge amount of detail, you don't need to go overboard with things like this because the decals will do all the hard work for you. It's the heavy lifting of the illusion, which is wonderful. Really, really nice and clean. I did struggle to get good footage inside because of the reflection on the plastic, but this is not too bad. And you can see the doll's house. It's got a really nice depth, the way that real photograph comes through. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I really like it. I like it a lot. Everything comes together in a beautifully lit kind of clean way. The floor is doing wonders for it as well, as you can see. I hope you got something out of this because I actually learned quite a few things from this build, and I'm definitely going to have to do some more things like this. And I hope you give this a try, or at least some of the things in this a try, because it is so easy and it's very rewarding. I do hope you enjoy the video, and I hope to see you next time.